You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. Witness the strength of street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Terrorize the jam like troops in Pakistan.
Street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Quick service announcement brought to you in part by Warriors.
Damn, that shit was dope.
And welcome back to another Warrior Creed live stream with me, the Radical Majid Nawaz. And today's topic, as is on your screens right now, Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre says on her own Instagram page that she has suffered a fatal accident. The reason fatal accident is in citation marks there is because she states that she has, as of yesterday, 4 days to live. So these are her reports about the nature of the accident, not necessarily what the police have said, which we are coming to in a moment. But that is the topic for today's stream. Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre suffers fatal accident in citation marks prior to Epstein files release. The rest of that headline is accurate. This is prior to any much delayed Epstein files release, as promised not only by President Trump prior to his election and the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, prior to his appointment, and the Attorney General prior and after to her appointment. She's now the Attorney General, and has promised as Attorney General to release those files, honoring the promise of the president. So despite all of those pledges, the Epstein files are yet to be released. We've been assured by Attorney General Pam Bondi that these files are being carefully redacted to remove names of victims and any information that may otherwise harm successful prosecutions, so that the alleged clients of Epstein can be brought to justice. Because let's remember, so far, as we've said in Radical Media before, the Ghislaine Maxwell remains the only woman to have been convicted of trafficking underage victims to absolutely nobody. So the release of those male or otherwise names named in the case of Giuffre and Maxwell would reveal who the clients were that Maxwell was convicted for trafficking underage victims to, because as of yet, none of those clients have been brought to justice. And yet, despite that, which one would presume is a crucial piece of information relevant to this story prior to the release of the Epstein files, Giuffre, in this case, the only other publicly known living victim the only other publicly known living witness other than Ghislaine Maxwell, Virginia Giuffre now claims that she has suffered in her words, as of yesterday, a fatal accident that leaves her with only 4 days to live. And so that is the topic for today's stream. We're going to break down exactly how best we can understand Giuffre's statements in accordance to the fully available rest of the information. And we're going to provide a reminder to many of you the background to this case prior to the Epstein files release. Well, let's go first of all to the Times of London, as reported the 1st of April. You can see there, Virginia Giuffre says she has days to live after bus crash. The woman who accused Prince Andrew of sexual assault has posted from her hospital bed, claiming she has renal failure after her vehicle was involved in a road accident. Just some of the facts behind the Times article. They will read for you from the article. Virginia Giuffre, a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, who alleges that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew, as reports the Times 1st of April, trafficked to Prince Andrew and sexually abused, has said she was involved in a car crash and only has days to live. Giuffre, 41, posted a photograph of herself on Instagram with a visible head injury and lying on a hospital bed, writing that she was in renal failure as a result of her injuries after a collision with a bus. To quote from the Instagram page, as the Times has done here, "This year has been the worst start to a new year, but I won't bore anyone with the details. But I think it's important to note that when a school bus driver comes at you driving 110 kilometers as we were slowing for a turn, that no matter what your car is made of, it might as well be a tin can," she wrote on Sunday. "I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm ready to go, just not until I see my babies one last time." But you know what they say about wishes. To continue reading from the Times, after the settlement, Giuffre and Prince Andrew issued a joint statement in which the Duke pledged to demonstrate his regret for his association with Epstein by supporting the fight against the evils of sex trafficking and by supporting its victims. Giuffre said the money of the settlement would go towards Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, a charity she set up that works with the victims of abuse. She was briefly under a gag agreement as part of the settlement and has since declined media interviews. Now, this has also been reported by Sky News here, as you can see on your screens, dated the 31st of March. A woman who accused Prince Andrew of sexual assault says she has 4 days to live after car accident. What we will say is that it's important to understand in this story not just what Giuffre has reported, but what the police have said about the car accident that Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre says she was involved in, so that we may perhaps gain a wider understanding or a better picture of what exactly may have transpired here. So to go back to the Times article, before we go into some of this, let's read another section from the Times article that was published a day after the Sky News article we showed you. So we're just going to read for you some various sections from that article, because we do believe they begin to shed light on precisely what's happened to Virginia Giuffre. Do keep in mind, this is all very relevant because Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, as well as the head of the Congressional Task Force, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, have both pledged to release the Epstein files. And why this is important is because Virginia Giuffre, other than Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted for trafficking underage victims, among them Giuffre herself, Virginia Giuffre remains the only publicly known living witness, other than Maxwell, as to who these clients are that Giuffre and one presumes many other underage victims were trafficked to. So it becomes of paramount importance that Virginia Giuffre remains alive, so that she can confirm or deny whoever is declassified in these forthcoming, as we are being led to believe, Epstein files that are due to be released. So again, why is Giuffre so important? Well, the Times reports Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew. Giuffre spent years speaking out about her sexual abuse at the hands of Epstein and his circle of friends. In 2021, she filed a civil lawsuit against Prince Andrew at a federal court in New York, accusing him of rape and saying Epstein and his longtime girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, had trafficked her to London to have sex with Andrew when he was 17. Keep in mind, Prince Andrew is not the only. This was in a civil suit, so we are asking for the names. Prince Andrew is one of them, clearly, in the Giuffre case. The names of all the other men that Maxwell is accused of trafficking underage victims to. And in that quest to gain these names that Attorney General Pam Bondi has promised will be released upon the directive of President Trump himself, in that quest to gain these names, that Congressional Overseer of Declassification, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, has assured us will be the case, that we will gain these names. In the pursuit of those names, Virginia Giuffre being alive becomes incredibly important as a corroborating witness. So to continue reading from the Times, bottom half of the page now, Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years for sex trafficking in 2021. She was not one of the 4 victims to testify at trial amid concerns over inconsistencies in her story. Giuffre agreed to an out-of-court settlement with Andrew in 2022, understood to be millions of dollars. The Duke has denied all allegations, but was forced to step down from royal duties. Now, the key part here, keep in mind, she was not one of the 4 victims to testify at trial amid concerns over inconsistencies in her story. This is why the corroboration is important, so we can iron out any and all inconsistencies wherever they may be. So here is precisely a video rendition of some of the allegations made by Virginia Giuffre, which, if her words are to be believed, only has 3 more days to live. It would be incredibly important, as we say, for the forthcoming release of the Epstein files, that Virginia Giuffre does indeed live. But this is what she specifically has on the record alleged about Prince Andrew.
Young, Keelan woke me up in the morning and said, "You're going to meet a prince today." I didn't know at that point that I was going to be trafficked to that prince. And then that night, Prince Andrew came to her house in London, and we went out to Club Tramp. Prince Andrew got me alcohol. It was in the VIP section. I'm pretty sure it was vodka. Prince Andrew was like, "Let's dance together." And I was like, okay. And we leave Club Tramp, and I hop in the car with Giuffre and Giuffre, and Giuffre said he's coming back to the house, and I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that even royalty were involved.
Now you can see why, perhaps, knowing that the Epstein client list has been promised to be released, that Giuffre's remaining alive becomes so important. So we did say that we'd come to some of the police perspective on what Virginia Giuffre has claimed, and that's what we're going to do now by continuing to read from the Times article. So on your screens now, you'll see why Giuffre's life becomes relevant to this forthcoming promised release of the Epstein files. Just to read from the Times again from today. The Trump administration had vowed to declassify all documents to demystify the case. But in one early release by the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi's Department of Justice, where she serves as the Attorney General, that's clear. We're going to continue reading from there. All the information was already available to the public. That's so that the limited release that they already put out was was really an anticlimax. People are awaiting for specifically the information that we don't already have. To continue reading from the Times, Giuffre criticized the stunt in March, saying it was not good enough and claiming that the FBI was continuing to withhold evidence of Epstein's crimes. There you have it. That's why it's so important that Giuffre remains alive. Read that last paragraph again. Giuffre from the Times today. Giuffre criticized the stunt in March. That was Pam Bondi's limited release of the Epstein files by simply releasing information that we already had in the public. This was Giuffre's reaction to that action that she called a stunt. To read from the Times again, Giuffre criticized the stunt in March, saying it was not good enough and claiming that the FBI was continuing to withhold evidence of Epstein's crimes. And that's why we say that it becomes rather surprising that Giuffre is now in the situation that she's in, or rather alarming, we should say, and why it's important that she remains alive. Now, to continue reading from the Times, because there is a slight off chance, if one takes police records, that something else might be going on here. So here is, to continue in that same Times article from today, the police response to Giuffre's announcement. Police in Western Australia, where Giuffre has been living, said on Tuesday that there was a, quote, minor crash between a bus and a car in a rural area north of Perth on the afternoon of March the 24th. We have no report of any serious injuries, but this is all that we have in relation to that matter, Kylie Whitley, the acting Western Australia Police Commissioner, said. So the Australian or Perth Police has said that there was a minor crash. To continue reading from the Times, in a later statement, Western Australia Police said that the collision had been reported by the bus driver the following day. To quote the police in the Times from today, the car sustained approximately $2,000 worth of damage, the statement read. There were no reported injuries as a result of the crash. No reported injuries as a result of the crash. Important line in today's Times. The police are saying in Perth that there was a crash, it was minor, and there were no reported injuries. That's a direct quote in the Times from Perth Police. The car sustained approximately $2,000 worth of damage. The statement read, there were no reported injuries as a result of the crash. Police would not confirm if Giuffre was the driver of the other vehicle. Dinny von Muffling, Giuffre's representative, said, quote, Virginia has been in a serious accident and is receiving medical care in the hospital. She greatly appreciates the support and well wishes people are sending. That same Times article continues by stating that her father has not been in touch with Giuffre since the incident, but Giuffre's been rather communicating through her brother, not having communicated with her father after learning she's only got 3 more days to live. It's very interesting. The police are saying that there were no serious injuries and it was a minor crash that only caused $2,000 worth of dollars to the other vehicle, and they would not confirm if Giuffre was the passenger or driver in that other vehicle hit by a school bus, but they did confirm a school bus hit something in a minor accident. So what could possibly be going on here? Having established the importance of Giuffre as a living witness to the pending and promised release of the Epstein clients list, and having established Giuffre as a critic to date of the action of the Attorney General Pam Bondi in releasing information that the public already had, it could well be that Giuffre's statement on her Instagram page is true and that she has suffered a fatal car accident that leaves her with only 3 days remaining to live and has entered into renal failure. It could well be the case. It could also be the case, as these things happen, it's not unheard of, that Virginia Giuffre is being placed into witness protection, and so that the inconsistency between what the police have reported and what Giuffre have reported are explained by the fact that Giuffre requires a cover story for disappearing because she's going into permanent witness protection in order to cooperate with the law enforcement authorities in corroborating evidence against the remaining clients of Epstein, who are soon to be published by Attorney General Pam Bondi and have been promised by Congressional Overseer for Declassification Representative Anna Paulina Luna. Both Bondi and Paulina Luna, pledging that they seek to fulfill the promise made by President Trump to declassify all of this information. So it could be in an attempt to reconcile the apparent inconsistencies in reports by what the Western Australia police are saying and what Virginia Giuffre is saying, that she's being placed instead into witness protection and remains alive after these 3 days, while she's saying she's going to pass away. That's the only way we can think of to explain this inconsistency between her words and what the police have said. Either way, whether she is telling the truth and is dying, or she's going to be placed into witness protection, what remains of paramount importance is that her evidence that she's able to provide about any of the other names that are due to be declassified in the Epstein's client list becomes of paramount importance. And so those names should either be acquired from her in witness protection or before she passes away, whichever one of these reports is true. We on Radical Media have discussed this delay in the release of the Epstein files in the previous article that you can see on your screens now. Release of Epstein files in unexplained delay as U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi goes dark. And that's dated the 26th of February, 2025. On your screens now is what we thought was the great meme that accompanied that article. And that is, of course, the UK's Mr. Bean standing next to an image of Epstein's island and the strange temple that appeared on his island. And Mr. Bean there is looking at his watch. So it is the case that Pam Bondi has promised to release these files. In that article, we said the following: promises made. Ghislaine Maxwell remains the only woman to have been convicted of trafficking underage victims to absolutely nobody who were Epstein's VIP clients. President Trump promised his MAGA base to address this glaring problem of omission. But this much anticipated release of Epstein's client list has been met with sudden, unexplained delays as Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi has gone dark. Since then, she has clarified, and what she has said is the following on your screens now.
Scaring bad guys is something Cash has talked about a lot, and you have when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the people who are like predators in this country. They've been given a pass, and a lot of Americans think these guys have got a pass for a long time, and maybe even are still being protected right now. Where are we at with the Jeffrey Epstein list, the documents? And Cash has made a lot of public statements about this. Where are we at?
I was briefed on that yesterday. I can't talk about that publicly, but you know, President Trump has given a very strong directive, and that's going to be followed.
Wow. Okay. So
a lot of documents.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So people can expect actual movement on this. It's not just empty promises.
Oh, Donald Trump doesn't make empty promises.
Yeah, right.
I think promises made, promises kept, and that's why we're all there to carry out his directive about making America safe and prosperous.
So there's the pledge. As previously reported, since then, Pam Bondi has explained on various media platforms that the delay is due to preparing the Epstein client list release in a manner that is not inconsistent with any subsequently sought prosecutions. That is a powerful reason. However, dismissed as it is by Giuffre as a gimmick and not good enough, it remains crucial that Giuffre stays alive to be able to provide corroborating evidence on any subsequent release. As we said, congressional overseer appointed by Trump, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, has also commented on this in the following way.
Our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files. This task force will be a beacon of bipartisan.
So these pledges still stand, and President Trump doesn't have long to appease his base, the MAGA base, those whom he promised to be the most transparent president in America's history. The JFK files that were released by President Trump have provided for fascinating reading and do point, in some instances, to information that the diligent researcher will be able to discern and understand precisely what has been hidden all this time in the case of the killing of the president, the assassination of the president of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Some of that information that the diligent researcher is able to discern will include what's subsequently been released, that Lee Harvey Oswald was photographed next to President JFK during what appears to be at the time of his assassination, and therefore raising questions as to how possibly he could have been the shooter. And of course, other information relating to the head of the CIA and other intelligence operatives working with other foreign security services, with conversations around the role of Mossad in this particular incident of the killing of JFK. But still, people have been left unsatisfied to date with the level of transparency provided by the Trump administration, and the release of the Epstein files would go a long way in assuaging some of those concerns, because the delay is also being noticed by corporatist press. And here, as Radical Media previously reported, The Independent reported on the 12th of February 2025, headlined, "New Congressional Task Force Weighs Declassifying Jeffrey Epstein's Client List and Other Government Secrets." The various press outlets are beginning to pay attention to this story, which again is why whatever's been announced by Virginia Giuffre now becomes so important and newsworthy, regardless of whether or not indeed she does have only 3 days to live or is being taken into witness protection. To read from that Independent article, a new congressional task force is weighing whether to release a slew of national secrets, and Jeffrey Epstein's client list could be among the documents declassified. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer announced the establishment of the investigative unit Tuesday. Republican Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna will lead the task force. that will decide whether to publish materials related to federal government interests and end an era of secrecy. Along with releasing the disgraced finances contact list, her team will investigate the September 11th terrorist attacks, the origins of COVID-19, the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and unidentified flying objects, these days known as UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. So that was the independent reporting on the story prior to this release. Again, this has been much delayed, but the Times also jumped on the story. On the 11th of February, Jeffrey Epstein client list among files to be declassified. To read from that Times article, Jeffrey Epstein's client list is set to be released by a new Trump administration task force charged with the declassification of federal secrets. And so what with the promise videos we've just shown you and the news articles, the delay is causing questions. And here you can see Newsweek asking those questions on the 25th of February. In an article headlined, "Delay to Jeffrey Epstein Files Being Released Raises Questions." On Thursday, February the 20th, Attorney General Pam Bondi indicated that files pertaining to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are set to be released. The fact that they are yet to be released is raising questions from Republican politicians. On the campaign trail, President Donald Trump suggested he would be open to releasing the Epstein client list. This rumored list is believed by some to implicate high-profile figures in sex crimes. Politico has also reported on the delays as well, and that's on your screens about now. From the 25th of February, Politico reports, as you can see, lawmakers pressure Bondi to release Epstein client list. Quoting from the article, lawmakers across the political spectrum have taken to X to urge Bondi to make good on her promise. An early rare point of pressure Republican members of Congress have tried to exert over the administration. Leading the pack is Representative Anna Paulina Luna, representative for Florida, who chairs a task force on the declassification of federal secrets. The release of records related to the investigation into Epstein's crimes is one of the task force's major priorities. The outspoken Florida Republican started posting about the release of the Epstein documents on X on Monday, directing her grievances at Bondi. Keep in mind the date there, the 25th of February, 2025. And again, as the Politico article we just read you states, other lawmakers are beginning to notice. Here is, as the New York Post reports on the 24th of February, headlined, GOP Senator Marsha Blackburn demands FBI IRS release complete unredacted Epstein flight logs and surveillance footage. To read from that New York Post article, Senator Marsha Blackburn called Monday on newly inaugurated FBI Director Kash Patel to follow through on his commitment to transparency in the case of notorious sex predator Jeffrey Epstein. Blackburn, 72, insisted Patel and acting IRS Commissioner Douglas O'Donnell release their respective agencies' complete unredacted records on Epstein amid long-standing public questions and speculation about his associates that have swirled since his death in 2019. So there you can see the Senator for Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, going so far as to demand that the files are released in an unredacted manner. So whatever's going on with Virginia Giuffre, whether or not she does remain alive or is being placed into witness protection, her corroborating evidence as to who these clients of Jeffrey Epstein were becomes of paramount importance. Remember, in the Giuffre versus Maxwell case, which was a civil suit, we can determine after Maxwell's actual criminal conviction that Ghislaine Maxwell remains the only woman to have been convicted for trafficking underage victims on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein to absolutely nobody. That's the sentence that forms the basis for this entire topic. Ghislaine Maxwell remains the only woman to have been convicted for trafficking underage victims on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein to absolutely nobody. That sentence begs multiple questions. Who are the victims named in the Epstein case that Maxwell went to prison over as those to whom she trafficked underage victims on behalf of Epstein. The question is quite simple. People can obfuscate all they like about what does it mean to demand for the release of the Epstein client list. It isn't that complicated. Who were the men or women? Who were the suspects named in that case that Ghislaine Maxwell went to prison for? Who were the suspects named? It isn't difficult. And we'll tell you why it may be proving to be difficult. And that's because this file, this case, and the potential clients include, at the very least, a president, a prime minister, and a prince. That's the truth of the matter. This case involves a president, a prime minister, and a prince. We already know that, to start with the first of those, a president, that Bill Clinton has been named as Doe 36 and identified more than 50 times in a Jeffrey Epstein document dump, as reported precisely in that wording by the New York Post, dated the 31st of December 2023, and is on your screens right about now. To read from the article, former President Bill Clinton will be identified as Joe 36 in a trove of court documents related to late paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, which are expected to be released this week, according to a report. This may be why it's proving so difficult for the so-called Epstein files or the Epstein client list to be released. It may also explain why Virginia Giuffre is set to disappear in 3 days' time, whether or not you believe her words or indeed take the view from the police report that there were no serious injuries. Perhaps she's being placed into witness protection. But when your opponent, your adversary, the person that you're accusing is a man as powerful as the president of history's most powerful armies, the commander-in-chief, president of history's most powerful nation, former President Bill Clinton, when that's your adversary, perhaps you do require to be placed into witness protection. But that isn't her only adversary. President Bill Clinton forms the explanation for the president part of that sentence. But we said to you that among the potential clients to be revealed to the world in the Epstein files release include not only a president, but also a prime minister and a prince. Who's the prime minister? Well, here, again on your screens, reported by the Mail Online, Daily Mail, 4th January 2024. We'll read the headline: Epstein list reignites suspicion that the pedo financer was working for Mossad and blackmailing the elite with help of information he gleaned from useful idiot Prince Andrew after meeting Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak at least 36 times. So Epstein met with the Prime Minister of Israel at least 36 times and met with the President of America, or at least the President of America was identified in the documents at least 50 times. You can begin to comprehend the scale of the adversaries and potential enemies that Virginia Giuffre is earning for herself in taking it upon herself, this burden to begin corroborating the names of who Epstein's clients may have been. But it doesn't stop there. We said to you, President, Prime Minister, and Prince. Of course, the Prince is Prince Andrew himself, the person that she specifically came up against in her civil action and from whom she received payments in damages and a commitment, as the Times reports, for Prince Andrew to begin campaigning against underage sex trafficking. But it doesn't just stop with a president, a prime minister, and a prince. The current Prime Minister of Britain, Sir Keir Starmer, has just appointed as Britain's ambassador to Washington, D.C., reporting to President Trump, the British ambassador serving now in Washington, D.C. and confirmed in office is none other than Lord Peter Mandelson, otherwise known as Tony Blair's, former PM Tony Blair's Dark Prince, who himself has been photographed on Jeffrey Epstein's island in this court-released photo. You can see there the file name ransom_000154 is the file name of the photo as released by official court documents. On the left is the current British ambassador to Washington, D.C., Lord Peter Mandelson, speaking to Jeffrey Epstein on his island in that photograph dated 2006. Why is that significant? Because as Radical Media has previously reported, Lord Mandelson, the current British ambassador to America, visited Epstein Island, traveled to Paris with Epstein for his birthday after the latter had already been convicted for trafficking and was due to stay at Epstein's New York townhouse while Epstein was in jail. And on your screens about now, that is the image in the Giuffre versus Maxwell court documents in which the photo of Mandelson was unredacted by the judge and then resealed. We'll read for you as reported in the Radical Dispatch. Unfortunately for Mandelson, his relationship with Epstein is no longer one of mere speculation or even journalistic investigative inquiry. It is a matter of confirmed court record. There's the image of the court docket. And then to continue reading from the Radical Dispatch on this, U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska accidentally unsealed, quote unquote, accidentally unsealed the above photo of Mandelson. That's this photo here. Accidentally unsealed that photo of Mandelson on Epstein's island, only to then reorder that the photo be resealed and stricken from the docket. But it was too late. Corporate media decided to republish that photo. This one that is on your screens now of Mandelson on Epstein Island was republished by the Daily Mail after that Judge Loretta Preska unsealed it and then decided to strike it from the docket and reseal it. It had already been published by the Daily Mail, as had a number of other names. And here is the Daily Mail article from the 4th of January. Headline, we'll read it for you. Epstein list reignites suspicion the Peter financer was working for Mossad and blackmailing the elite with help of information he gleaned from useful idiot Prince Andrew after meeting Israeli PM Ehud Barak at least 36 times. It is indeed a huge, huge story as to who these suspected clients are, and it's why it becomes so important that Virginia Giuffre remains able and willing to corroborate these names when they're released, having previously criticized, as reported by the Times, having previously criticized the stunt. Look at the bottom of that paragraph there in the Times. Giuffre criticized a stunt in March. That is the stunt of Pam Bondi releasing files we'd already seen, saying it was not good enough and claiming that the FBI was continuing to withhold evidence of Epstein's crimes. Radical Media takes the view that you can visually see on your screens now. And until the Epstein client list is released, we stand by this view. For those of you listening and not watching, this is an image from Congress, and it's a meme, and it simply says above that, going to tell my kids that this was the Epstein client list, and that's simply a photograph of Congress. Radical Media will take the view that it's all of them until we know specifically who they are, and that until we see justice for those VIPs who were the clients in history's most prolific global VIP pedophile ring. To conclude, we apologize for not being able to stream Radical Media for the last 2 weeks. But first, we were involved, as our followers will be aware, with reporting to a medical inquest in court presided over by Coroner Julian Morris. And that is in the medical inquest of Derek Dimmock in the Midazolam death case. Every day, Monday to Friday, for the first week, we were in court live reporting on those proceedings, and Radical Media has been reporting and publishing on that over the course of that inquest. The new dates that are set to be set by the coroner will be released soon, and we will bring you the news of those dates as soon as we have them. For the second week, we were in Cleveland, Ohio, filming for my new show, Cancelled, and we filmed 4 pilot episodes, and that's soon to be released on a major international network with me as host in collaboration with producer and creator Matt Carroll of Akashic Studios, directed by director Santiago Callegero. And the show will be a long-form, serious, 60-minute style interview show with individuals who've been experienced some form of cancellation. In that pursuit, we met with one of our guests, one of the 4 initial pilot episodes that we've recorded, Dateline NBC's former host of To Catch a Predator, Chris Hansen. And we asked Chris Hansen to commit on camera whether he would agree, once this Epstein client list is revealed, to catch a predator against the Epstein clients. And Chris Hansen agreed to this on camera. Those of you who are aware of the Catch a Predator show, it's a reality TV true crime show in which Chris Hansen exposes, in collaboration with law enforcement, exposes those who use online communications to groom and abuse underage victims. To Catch a Predator is Chris Hansen exposing them on live camera. So we put it to him whether or not he feels that the Epstein client list is something that should require more of his attention, and he agreed. We also recorded a behind-the-scenes interview with Chris Hansen on that very topic. Of course, the main interview is yet to be released and will be released officially by our show, Cancelled. But Radical Media caught a behind-the-scenes conversation post-interview with Chris Hansen, and we leave you with that post-interview conversation. Chris Hansen here promising that, yes, he will pay attention to the Epstein clients list. Have a listen to this.
And once that says live, we're in, but I kind of see it come in. But yeah, I was looking at you as we were speaking, and I was.
No, it was good engagement. It was great. It was the whole thing.
There we are. We're live. Welcome, everybody. This is a behind-the-scenes post-interview chat with none other than the well-known To Catch a Predator host, Chris Hansen is here. Right.
Hey guys, how are you? We just had a great interview with Majid here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I was saying to you just as you walked in, it's the one guy who I've sat opposite, looking as I was into your eyes.
Well, at least I didn't tell him to have a seat.
And that's a good point. And actually, the one guy that I think matches my intensity, and I'd say even passion for this subject. Chris, how was that for you? How did it go for you?
I think it was great. You know, I often find that these conversations, stretch you intellectually and make you think about what you do. And I think it's important for guys in our business to do that from time to time and to sit across the table from you for this very, worthwhile project. It was my pleasure to be a part of it. It was cool.
Well, look, I'm a long-time admirer. I've obviously aware of your shows. As you could probably tell in my conversation with you, I share the passion on this subject with you, and really do feel that you're doing worthwhile work. So thank you for joining us. Were there any moments that you felt were uncomfortable for you in that chat?
No, I think, again, if you see me slow down for a minute to think about something, it's just a matter of wanting to be thoughtful with an answer to a very thoughtful question. And I think, all these things, they get you into the philosophical matter of what you do. And I think it's important to have these conversations because it makes me better at what I do when we go do it.
Yeah. And what's were there any highlights that you felt you had from that?
Well, I think it was interesting to explore the Epstein material because obviously we have, been told by the Attorney General here in this country that we have Epstein files that are going to be given to people like us and to explore them and to perhaps answer some of these many questions that we have. So, it allows me to go back and kind of think about the reporting I've done on the Epstein thing and think, whether that was good or fell short or what more we should have done, because obviously this is a huge story and it's not over yet,
For our viewers, we spent a lot of time, just as a bit of an advanced preview for you, we spent a lot of time, not just on Chris's background in the Catch a Predator series and its history and how he feels it's relevant till today, but also the Epstein case itself, Chris's views on that. It's a really interesting conversation. Last thing for you, Chris, I did promise I wouldn't take too much of your time. We've just been sat down for an hour and a half. what, because you're, what they may not know is you're also on the business end with True Blue in helping us move this show forward. What, if anything, would you like to share with our viewers about the future of this show, Cancelled, your hopes for it, and where you think it'll end up?
Well, I think it's an incredible look at some of the things that have been considered canceled in our culture. One of them that we discussed was, some of the crime reporting and embedding with law enforcement that, for a little bit sort of fell off, and now we're back with it full force. And the beauty of True Blue is not only do I get to explore the stories that take down with Chris Hansen Predator Investigations, but to create these very compelling documentaries that wouldn't take place anywhere else. And we get to do them here and team up with people like yourself to do them. So I think it's a great opportunity. It's going to be a great project. So I look forward to not only seeing it myself, but for you all out there to see it.
Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I did promise I wouldn't take too much
Yeah,
time, so
no,
thank
it's
you.
all good, brother.
I'm holding the phone with that hand. Oh, the blooper. Tell us about the blooper.
Oh, the blooper. So at the end of the interview, Majid says, thank you very much, and extends his hand, and my bracelet got caught on the button of my sport coat, and I was stuck there.
You couldn't extend his hand, which I think
Put
we're
that
going
on.
to try and get the clip for that. Yeah?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Thank you, buddy.
All
Thank you
right,
very much.
thank
An
you. My
absolute
pleasure.
honor.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
my pleasure.
Thank you, guys, and we'll see more updates soon.
See you soon.
All right. Bye.
So that's all we've got time for today's Warrior Creed live stream. Do look out for Cancelled. We'll, of course, on Radical Media announce the news of that as it unfolds. You'd hope and expect that we'd have that news before everybody else. So we will be announcing that news as it unfolds. But as you can see, Chris Hansen particularly interested in the Epstein files. To Catch a Predator, Dateline, NBC's Dateline's Chris Hansen, paying attention to the Epstein file story is very significant journalistically. We're very proud and privileged to be able to bring that news to our listeners. And of course, as always, all the receipts from today's stream will be published in tomorrow's written version of this stream, The Radical Dispatch, and the audiovisual podcast version of this conversation will be published for premium subscribers. That video itself that you just watched was published first to our premium subscribers to Radical Media. They had it live a week ago or a few days ago. So that's one of the benefits of subscribing. So we do encourage all of you that are free members to sign up for the premium membership so you can gain access to that kind of behind the scenes footage and media content. Until next time, that's all we got time for today on Warrior Creed. You've been listening to The Radical Majid Nawaz, and we thank you for your time.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. Witness the strength of street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Terrorize the jam like troops in Pakistan.
Street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Quick service announcement brought to you in part by Warriors.
Damn, that shit was dope.